Some adults carry a quiet history that follows them through every conversation, every decision, and even every moment of solitude. It is a history written not in words spoken, but in words withheld, in feelings folded inward, and in emotions carefully tucked away because expressing them once led to discomfort or subtle disapproval. This silence was never chosen. It was imposed by circumstances, by authority figures, and by a childhood that required restraint as the price of acceptance. And over the decades, this quiet adaptation grows roots so deep that even when life demands expression, the mind hesitates and the voice falters. At the surface, childhood silence may appear benign. A quiet child is praised for being well-behaved, thoughtful, or mature beyond their years. But beneath that calm exterior is a nervous system conditioned to evaluate, anticipate, and restrain. Each unspoken word is a survival strategy. Each suppressed feeling is a shield. These children learn early that expressing themselves can invite subtle criticism or invisible punishment, so they develop an internal code. Silence keeps things safe. Over time, this code extends into adulthood, affecting how they navigate relationships, work environments, and even self-perception. What most people fail to notice is that this learned silence does not vanish with age. It evolves. It transforms into resilience, independence, and an impressive ability to endure emotional challenges without outward complaint. Adults who carry childhood silence often appear composed, disciplined, and emotionally strong. But beneath that composed exterior lies a mind trained for constant vigilance. Every interaction is scanned for cues of potential criticism or conflict. Every word is filtered, every emotion measured. Expressing vulnerability is risky because long ago, vulnerability was met with misunderstanding or disapproval. In adulthood, these lessons manifest as hesitation, internalized self-critique, and an enduring fear of imposing on others. The inner voice of someone shaped by childhood silence is complex and often relentless. It constantly evaluates and reassesses decisions, replaying conversations and weighing potential mistakes. Achievements are downplayed internally. Minor failures are magnified. This inner critic is not a temporary thought. It is a structural component of how the adult engages with the world. Life's successes, even those achieved with great effort, are rarely fully celebrated because the mind anticipates judgment or failure. Satisfaction feels precarious. Comfort feels provisional. The individual becomes adept at managing emotions internally, yet the emotional labor accumulates silently over decades, leaving a residue of exhaustion that is difficult to articulate. Relationships are profoundly influenced by childhood silence. Adults shaped by constant restraint may desire connection, yet simultaneously fear exposure. Emotional intimacy is threatening because it risks being misunderstood or dismissed, as it once was in early life. These individuals often hide their needs and emotions, appearing cooperative and agreeable while quietly suppressing personal discomfort. They listen attentively and support generously, but seldom voice their own frustrations or desires. The imbalance is not intentional. It is learned. The mind associates expressing needs with risk, so the individual endures quietly, often to the point of emotional depletion. Perfectionism frequently intertwines with childhood silence. It is not merely a pursuit of excellence, but a strategy to avoid criticism. Every action is carefully monitored, every word measured. Decisions are delayed, tasks overplanned, opportunities cautiously evaluated. The adult becomes self-critical and hyper-aware, not because of laziness or incompetence, but out of fear that missteps could invite disapproval. This careful, controlled approach serves as both a protective shield and a burden. It maintains external composure while amplifying internal tension, leaving little room for spontaneity or emotional fluidity. Socially, the adult shaped by silence may appear highly capable, mature, and emotionally intelligent. Others see their composure, reliability, and thoughtful presence. Yet internally, the mind remains constantly alert, processing potential risks and evaluating self-worth. Moments of reflection may trigger subtle but persistent unease. Midlife, particularly between ages 45 and 60, intensifies awareness of unspoken histories. Children become independent, careers stabilize or shift, and distractions wane. In these quiet moments, unresolved emotional weight resurfaces. There is a sense of incompleteness, an undercurrent of regret or dissatisfaction, and often a feeling that despite outward stability, the internal world is unbalanced. The psychological cost of this silent adaptation manifests as a fractured relationship with the self. Emotions are experienced but not fully trusted. Intuition is questioned. Desires are minimized. The internal narrative is dominated by caution. It's not important. Others have it worse. I'll manage it later. These statements are not self-discipline. They are learned mechanisms of self-erasure. Emotional energy is redirected to managing others' expectations or avoiding conflict rather than nourishing personal growth or authentic expression. Decades of silence can also create muted experiences of joy and sadness. Achievements may bring little satisfaction. Grief may linger unprocessed. Anger often turns inward. Adults may navigate life effectively, yet feel disconnected from their emotional core. Even routine social interactions can evoke subtle stress because the mind continuously monitors for judgment, echoes of past criticism, or potential rejection. The individual may long for connection, but struggle to articulate needs, creating cycles of unspoken tension that persist silently over years. Awareness begins to shift these patterns. By observing internal dialogue with curiosity rather than judgment, individuals can begin to recognize that much of their self-restraint was learned as a survival mechanism. This recognition does not erase the past, but loosens its grip. The quiet reflection, narrative-driven observation, and patience often associated with Dr. Psychic-style guidance help adults differentiate between protective silence and unnecessary suppression. Slowly, expressing needs, desires, or emotions becomes less intimidating, more deliberate, and ultimately more freeing. Gradually, emotional safety becomes possible. Silence transforms from a default survival tactic to a conscious choice. Expression is no longer feared. Communication is measured by clarity and intention rather than anxiety or self-protection. Adults can begin to set boundaries without guilt, seek support without hesitation, and articulate their experiences without fear of reprisal. The mind begins to trust that feelings can be expressed safely, and that self-worth does not depend on constant suppression or perfection. At the deepest level, the psychology of adults who carry childhood silence highlights a universal truth. Learned coping strategies can protect, but over time, they may limit growth. Emotional adaptation that once ensured survival can evolve into habitual suppression. Understanding, reflection, and patient self-examination are essential to recognizing these patterns. With insight, individuals can reclaim voice, integrate emotional experiences, and engage with the world authentically. This process is not rapid. It is subtle, iterative, and deeply personal. Each step toward expression strengthens agency, restores trust in self, and alleviates the unseen weight of decades of silence. Even in midlife, there is opportunity for change. Moments of reflection, careful conversation, and narrative exploration allow adults to identify patterns, gently experiment with expression, and slowly rebuild confidence in emotional communication. The goal is not to erase silence entirely, nor to force vulnerability, but to cultivate a balanced approach where silence is a choice rather than a constraint. This nuanced understanding honors the complexity of human experience, while providing practical insight into the falling, long-term effects of childhood adaptation. Ultimately, carrying childhood silence into adulthood is a silent testament to resilience. It demonstrates an enduring capacity to navigate social, emotional, and relational challenges under conditions of historical restraint. By understanding the origins and patterns of this silence, individuals can begin to differentiate between protective habits and limiting behaviors. This recognition allows for deliberate engagement with life, selective expression, and a renewed capacity for authentic connection. Emotional clarity is gained not through force or dramatic revelation, but through patient, sustained reflection, insight, and careful narrative understanding. In this exploration, it becomes clear that silence, learned early as a survival mechanism, is both a strength and a challenge. It has protected, guided, and shaped adults across decades. Yet it also carries a cost-subtle emotional fatigue, internalized self-critique, and restrained relational expression. Awareness, reflection, and patient self-communication provide a pathway to reclaim voice, reintegrate emotion, and engage more fully with both self and others. Over time, the quiet adult discovers that expression is no longer dangerous, that feelings can coexist with composure, and that decades of silence can transform into deliberate, empowered communication that supports emotional well-being and authentic human connection.